Welcome back to Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Prowler only. Last time we took on Advanced Monster Hunter, one of the advanced quests in High Rank Village. And this time I'll be taking on the other particular one that I wanted to take on, and I think it's fairly fitting. The last one was called Monster Hunter, and this one is called Advanced Ultimate Generation. As us hunting in the Forlorn Arena, a Hyper Glavenus, a Hyper Astalos, Hyper Mizutsune, Hyper Gameth, and instead of a Hyper Diablos, you have a Valstrax instead. I'll go ahead and take the quest. Of course, these have the high rank health values and defense values, but I think still G rank damage, so it's not going to take as long as the other hunt. But either way, have the quest. I'll go ahead and head on out. Alright, once again, I have the Silverwind Star, and I definitely think it will be better here because the opportunities for Mega Boomerangs are bountiful, to say the least. And especially since the Fated Four are very squishy, or they have very easily reachable squishy parts, I guess, if that makes sense. Glavenus is pretty obvious. It's his face, which you can get a pop on to get even more damage off on, and his tail, once heated, is also a very nice spot. And I think the spikes on his back are also pretty good once they're heated up, but mainly the face right now as we go for it. Astalos is Astalos. When he's charged up, he's a very brittle monster. Pretty much every spot on his glowing body, so his wings, his face, and his tail, when charged up, are going to be taking very large amounts of damage. Gameth is Gameth, very weak trunk, very weak face, which are very large as well, and it's a very slow monster as well. So you can actually get your Mega Boomerangs off quite often on the face there, as long as you're prepping them correctly. And then Mizutsune is very similar to Glavenus in that it has a very weak face, and if you attack that enough, you will get head topples. And the fins, when enraged, also become a better hit zone, and the tail is also a pretty good hit zone as well. And all of those hit zones become even better once Hyper is applied to it. The only monster that you could probably consider to be particularly tanky is Gameth of that, and also Valstrax, since he's not a Hyper version, since he's an Elder Dragon, and there are no Hyper Elder Dragons, he will not have any squishy parts because of the Hyper augmentation. But, you know, even Gameth, being as tanky as Gameth can be, is not going to take particularly long, especially since it's not even the first monster you fight, so you're not even forced to build up your buffs unless you are running completely out, which I highly doubt I will be. Once we get to go fight Windgoing, I'm sure I'll have enough gauge to just kind of start spinning Mega Boomerangs and whatnot. But until then, we just kind of fight the slow fight. Now, he will deal quite a bit of damage, especially with his tail, so do be careful about that. Don't let your guard down. I know it seems easy since it's a high rank quest to do that, but you will be taking some good amounts of health. I think without my defense buffs, I took like 50% HP from a tail slap, which is, you know, pretty considerable. You don't want to be getting hit by those back to back, certainly, and not really too often either, unless your cats are healing you or whatnot. But even at that, you'd still rather would not be getting hit, wouldn't you? Oh, Flame Chakram there. Go ahead and apply this, and I think I've got a good chance to use Mega Boomerang here. This seems perfect. Well, I say that, but I did take a little long getting that out. Okay, didn't get it. That's okay, though. Shoot me with the Fireball. I think this is safe here. That won't hit me. Just trade this out, please. Thank you. He missed. You missed. Your one job. I was sitting there stationary and you miss. I'm not quite sure how you do that. Don't worry, I mess up stuff like that all the time. Little bite. Go ahead and ready this out. I may be hit by a tail attack here. I'm actually not, because he readies his big long attack, which is very easy to dodge. I say it's very easy to dodge as I get hit. That was also a very interesting sequence of events, because my Palco, I think, broke the face as he was doing the spin. I don't even think the Palco actually got hit. I'm not sure what happened there, but good job at the very least. Did not save me from taking any damage, but that was more or less just because I was too lax in actually dodging there. There goes the tail. Go back to attacking the face now. Spin into it. Here comes the flame spin. Okay, I did not mean to do that. I may be losing an acorn here. That is my bad entirely. It's okay though. Okay, very threading of the needle here, if that makes any sense. Right, more fireballs. Couple of boomerangs this way. Spin. He's gonna growl. Try not to adept into the growl so I can actually punish. I think he may be fixing to pop. I'm not sure. Let me throw this out. We'll see. Another tail slam. Tail slam does hit where those little rocks pop up, so you're not completely safe. It's not like an Nargacuga slam. Actually, it is quite a bit like a Nargacuga slam because that one also brings up rocks at the end where it hits, so it is very much like a Nargacuga slam, if anything. That's a very good thing to compare it to. It's not as, thin, obviously. It's much larger, but it's also slower. All right, got another throat pop. I'm just gonna throw this out. I could have applied big boomerangs there, but I don't feel the need to. I'll very quickly get another gauge point and also take him out by the time I'm able to do that. So yeah, very quick, not even 5 minutes in. So I'll go ahead, cover him up, try to get some extra gauge from that, and I will meet you when Astalos spawns. All right, Glavenus is despawned. Time for our good old pal Astalos, which will probably be the fastest of the group, and just kind of what he is. As usual, glass cannon. I said this last time when I fought him, he's not the most bulky thing in the world, and though he may hit somewhat hard in like his EX versions of his Deviant and just like the Super Quests and whatnot, he's not really hitting that hard here, so he's more of a glass pillow. That does not make any sense. You would not be using a pillow that is made of glass, but more like, I don't really know how to describe it. Like a glass ball, which would hurt, but, well, I mean, I guess a glass cannon really doesn't make that much sense either. It's the figurative speech, or the figure of a glass cannon, a really strong and fast. It's not even, glass isn't particularly fast. I don't really know where that saying comes from. Obviously, the glass is because it's fragile, right? And I guess it's not particularly mentioning or pertaining to speed, right? It just deals a lot of damage being a cannon, and it's fragile, therefore it's glass. So I guess that really doesn't have to apply to speed, but he also is fast, so I wouldn't say he's a glass cannon. More like a glass jet. I guess that's the best way to describe it, because he's fast, he hits hard, but he can also shatter very quickly as well. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing, because Valstrax would not be a glass jet, even though he's fairly brittle. You get a lot of part breaks pretty quickly on Valstrax, but he actually does take quite a bit of punishment, especially considering he can't be a hyper version, so he won't be abused by the extra damage you're dealing on those spots specifically. And poor Astalos just is really burdened by that, because every spot that charges up is a spot that can be applied with hyper, so you're just dealing even more multiple hit damage there, which is not good for him. He's not going to survive very long like that, and I wouldn't want to deal with that either. He's going to taunt after his little slams. This is greedy, but it's fine. I think he did an extra taunt animation there, so that was free for me. Here comes the wing sweeps. He is completely off in the wrong direction, so I get another free opening for him. Very good. And I guess, you know what, he's not really that fast, so I guess glass cannon is, I think I will retract my statement. He's fairly quick when he is attacking, but after that, or if he misses a shot, it's just like, okay, well, free damage for me then, I guess. He may be a little too far off now. He's fine. Perfectly fine. He may actually charge into me here. Even if not, that's going to hover in a very good spot, hitting both the wings and the face. Hit a bit of the back, but that's fine. It's a-okay. I'll go ahead and throw this one out as well. This one was a bit greedier, but I think I'm fine. Yeah, he's just he's just a little bit too frail to do much for very long. Not even 5 minutes there, which Glavenus wasn't even 5 minutes, so that was probably more like 3, something like that. Either way, I'll finish covering him up and meet you when Mizutsune spawns. Alright, Mizutsune is spawned in. And I am now ready to do similar amounts of attacking here. Mizu is kind of, not really as frail, for sure, but still fairly frail in the grand scheme of things. You have some very nice hit zones to hit. The face, you know, in a lot of times the face is very upfront and present, but even the fins on the back are pretty good. The back legs are not terrible. They're better, obviously, when they're applied with hyper, but even regularly, they're okay. You know, obviously, if you're using a thunder weapon, they would be a bit better to attack, but even at that point, you'd rather just be attacking the face of the fins on the back. I think the fins on the back actually get weaker when enraged. I'm not sure how much weaker compared to the face, right? They may actually be similar at that point. But you're going to enrage, so I'm going to try to clip the top. So you may spin here or do something weird like that. Okay, well, you're actually fixing to spin, literally, like it was doing the spin attack. So I would have actually been able to get another Mega Boomerang off if it did go off, and it didn't. So I still get that Mega Boomerang off. Tail's also okay damage. If you want the tail cut, go free for it. Something to note is that this is not going to give you G rank parts, even if it is dealing G rank damage. And again, I'm still not 100% certain on that. I think that is the case, because I don't think high rank monsters are dealing that much damage to a Prowler in G rank gear, as much as these monsters are at the very least. You know, they're still dealing something, right? They're not like doing 2 damage per hit, but you're not being rewarded with G rank parts for that. You're still getting the high rank parts, so not something you really want to be farming if you are looking for G rank materials, because you obviously can't get them here, so you're not doing this at all. But even for high rank materials, unless you're going for all 4 Fated Four materials and Valstrax, you know, when you need them all, you're probably better off just doing the standard hunts for the monsters. That way they go down a little bit faster than 25 minutes, probably less than 5 if you're really on your game. And you can't, I don't know, maybe hyper, this is a way, I guess, to do a village quest to get hyper materials, because, you know, they're hyper monsters, but I feel like you're probably still better off just doing the single hyper monster quest, or even the dual hyper monster quests, not, you know, doing this just specifically for farming. That's kind of the point of the advanced quests, though. It's not for farming, it's for the challenge and the novelty of it, right? You don't every day get to see the Fated Four in an arena. You do actually quite a bit, honestly, but that's just because it's the gimmick monster of the generation, all 4 of them. But it is still, I guess, for the challenge. Obviously more of a challenge if you're only doing this in high rank gear, but if you're not, then, you know, not really much of a challenge. It's still 25 minutes, but it's not a super down to the wire challenge. It's just kind of a nice little walk through the woods challenge, which, you know, I guess is challenging for some people. It really depends on how much you like the woods and the bugs and all that fun stuff, especially if it's like summertime and there's water nearby, because there's a lot of mosquitoes. And I think I'm kind of off topic at this point, but yes, there are still a few quests that you can also do this in village, or not village, in hub. That's the Path of the Hunter, which I've already done, and then the I think you missed that completely. It's kind of sad, but the 5 Kings of Destruction quest, which has you doing once again the 5 hyper, or the 5 hyper Fated Four. No, the 4 hyper Fated Four, and then you have a hyper Diablos just kind of in there to, or not Diablos, Devil Joe. They both start with D. They're both similar on the difficulty list, kind of, but they are kind of similar quests at the very least in the regards of Fated Four hyper and then hyper strong monster, like elder-ish threat, but it's a regular monster instead. I'm not quite sure. I want to say they have quite a bit of health on the 5 Kings of Destruction quest. I don't remember how it compared to Path of the Hunter. It is an event quest, right? So they do have a bit of an excuse to give them a little bit more health, you know, because it's assuming you have some kind of internet connection. So you would also be able to play with other people. So there, I guess there's kind of an incentive to increase the health pools. I just don't remember. I've looked at this before, but I don't really like to retain stuff in my knowledge too long. Either way, Mizutsune is down after that rant, and I will meet you with Gammoth. All right, time for Gammoth, and we actually have some gauge to use here, so I will gladly use that. You can very easily get 2 off here because Gammoth is so slow. And not, again, it's not like Elder Frost, which actually takes some damage fairly well. It's just a regular Gammoth with a weakness. Okay, well, that's wonderful. Thank you, Gammoth. But, you know, it doesn't have strong hit zones. They're just fairly weak. Even if you're off to the side, like the legs can be applied with hyper, I think as the right foot, her right, is applied with it. So even then, that's taking more damage. Not that you particularly want to attack it, but I guess if her head is doing something dangerous, then you could attack the leg to get some gauge before you just start throwing Mega Boomerangs again. But at that point, if you have the gauge for it and the face is doing something dangerous, you may as well just like throw a Mega Boomerang or something at it. And I don't know. It's not particularly that it's doing something dangerous. It's just that it may be awkward for you to throw a boomerang at it because obviously most of her attacks are melee. So you being a ranged weapon can still attack her if she's doing something dangerous. It's more or less what in the moment is more awkward, hitting the leg or hitting the face. And also, if you're predicting her face to move where her leg is, then you may as well just attack the leg just to get some extra damage off, right? You don't want to aim where the face is and then miss most of your damage. I'm overcomplicating this, aren't I? She's doing a little snowplow attack, so this will be a perfect chance for this. Hopefully she will turn towards me. She can do the butt slam, and I do not remember if that is a G rank only thing. You think playing this game for thousands of hours would allow me to remember these things, but I've played it for thousands of hours, so a lot of stuff does just tend to mold together. So I want to say that is a G rank specific thing, that is not a high rank Gammoth, and if that's the case, then these monsters are using their G rank movesets, just with the high rank defensive multipliers, so health and, well, and that's not really a multiplier, but I think you understand what I mean. And then the defensive multiplier, so really just, it is also kind of weird though, if you're fighting the G rank version, why not give out G rank materials? Other than the fact that you don't want to give players, I guess, the ability to make G rank equipment in high rank. Village, maybe, but I don't know. If you've done every single quest in the game and you've unlocked this one, I feel like it's kind of fair, right? Okay, here you go. And even at that point, I don't think just having the materials allows you to make them. It depends, I guess. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know the specifics of that interaction there, but I've already broken her tusk. She's growling. She's really mad. She's going to cover herself up in snow again, I think. That's what that is for. I don't really know why, because the only thing that was uncovered was her right foot, and that is covered up again. I guess because she did that, but it's not like it's the most important thing in the world for her to cover up her legs. It's not like there's any ice anywhere here either. That is, I don't know. I was fixing to ask, I'm not sure how that works, but I mean, you have a monster shooting water and a monster shooting fire. I think ice is kind of fitting. And if I'm not going to ask questions about those, I can't really ask questions about the ice monster either. Because, yes, there are animals in real life that shoot water, but they're not like forming it inside of a gland or something in their body. They're just like taking in water and shooting it back out. And I guess kind of it's a very simplified version of what they do. They like eat and then turn that into energy to use it as fire or whatever. But I think that's oversimplifying it quite a bit. By the way, Gammoth's down too, so I will meet you with Valstrax. All right, and it is time for Valstrax, which will certainly be the longest of the 5 because he is not a hyper monster, as I said before, and he's fairly tanky. At the very least, defensive wise, he will break off quite a bit of his, or I will break off quite a bit of his parts before he goes down, but that's just more or less a Valstrax thing. It's not like you're dealing extra damage or anything like that. It's just low part HP and a lot of parts means lots of breakage, lots of chips coming off. But just dodge into his tackles and stuff like that. It's not a super friendly Mega Boomerang fight. There are openings. He does have taunting, quite a bit, honestly. But if you're not quite used to those, which you may not be, you know, Valstrax isn't the most common thing. There are quite a few quests with him, but not anything you really have to do. Especially at the end of the game, because this is really the only celebratory quest that he's in. There are some event quests and stuff like that, but they're not really too common either, which I do find interesting because he is the flagship, but you don't really have too many special flagship quests with him. I mean, I guess this is the flagship quest, right? So what much more can you do? But I mean, they did quite a bit with the Fated Four, right? I don't know. I think I'm just rambling at this point. Little boss fight. Look at me. He does also like to jump a lot. And that does come out pretty quick after the paw slam. Wait for the paw slam and then dodge like right after it hits the ground. I think that should be safe on timing. Because if you wait too long, you'll just get slapped pretty quickly. Because there's not a very large tail. There is a bit of one, for when he slams his wing down, but not super crazy at the very least. That may hit me. It does hit me. I don't know what the sweet spot on that attack is either. I think the closer you are, the safer you are. But there may also be a similar thing to Glavenus's Tailspin, where you have to sit in a sweet spot for it to be safe. Because it doesn't cover like the entire radius, I don't think. And again, if you're in under him, the wing obviously doesn't reach in under him, right? So that may be where the sweet spot is actually at. I think he's doing another one, maybe not. All right, that's fine. Little slam there. Go ahead and apply big here. Poke, poke. Very good. Actually got a wing break on the test hunt with one of the evade bombs just hitting his wing because they're pretty much instantly going to explode, which is nice. They're not dealing that much damage, obviously, especially with this weapon, which is fairly low on raw. It's using the sharpness and affinity to make up for that, but bombs do not care about that at all. I got hit by that. That's a little sad. That's okay. You can dig if you have enough time here, but you don't have to. Just soothing roll. If you want to save your cats, maybe dig and try to lead them away, because your cats will stay stationary for the most part there. He will taunt after he does that attack as well. Not super long, so really just depends on where you're at. If you're close enough to him, you know, obviously not too close to be hit by the attack, but if you are close enough to him, you should be safe to get a Mega Boomerang off there. There's a couple more where he'll just kind of stop and taunt. I don't remember them exactly, though. I'll notice them and I will try to point them out, but I won't always point them out. Just slapping a lot here. He can do pretty quick turnarounds. He's not like Nargacuga was, being able to do that. And I got jabbed there. Again, you can be comboed pretty quickly because he doesn't just stop. He'll keep going. And it's very easy just to get hit once and only do a little flinch, and that will still leave you open for some damage. But that's a-okay. Hit the face here. He's going to do this into a full burst, like a gun lance. Go for the face here. I'm going to lunge. Comes the tackle. Just dodge into that safely. Probably another one. Nope, not from a distance. Just doing his little rear back and lunge downwards. This should be safe. He's going to tackle into me. Now that... Okay, well, we'll get an air dunk. That's nice. I was going to say the bad thing about the tackle is that it does move pretty quickly, so it's kind of like iframing, but not. He will still take the damage, but he won't be stuck in the hitbox for very long. However, if you get an air dunk, that is some pretty good damage you can trade there. And I don't mind... or not trade, but you know what I mean. I don't mind trading some damage here. I do need to slow down a bit because I'm getting a little aggressive. Not that it's bad. Again, you can see how brittle his parts are. It doesn't make him go down any particularly faster, but at the very least, you feel like you're doing something right. I don't know quite the total number of parts that can be broken, but I think the front 2 feet, his face, his wings, which is already 5. I think the back legs as well. Maybe not. Maybe just the back. And then I think maybe the tail chips too, but it may just be a tail break. So that would be 2, 4, 6, 7 part breaks, which come pretty quickly, you know, for what it is. And they're fairly easy to hit. And especially since the only real major weak spot is his face, you're probably hitting other parts anyways and breaking those apart just by the nature of it. Poke. I'm going to go ahead and soothing roll here since it's free. Again, it may be better to learn where the sweet spot is there, but I'll use the crutch of Go Fight Man. I don't mind doing that. Try to spin here. Okay, didn't work out. That's all right, though. Tap his face here. Lunge, spin. He's going to charge at some point. Dodge into that. Dodge away from that. Not quite sure when he's going to do it, but I do need to ready my Mega Boomerang. This is where it is. All right, awesome. I may be too close to him to get it to hover. Okay, nope, I am not. Very good. Now we go for the face. I'll try to get 2 out. It is testing it a little bit, but I think I'm fine. Actually, not testing it much at all. In fact, I could have gone for a third one there. I'm going to go for the third one because I think it will land. Get one of the claw breaks on the front, which is good. Get another flinch. Dodge into that. Swipe his face. Poke. That won't hit. Second one may. Just dodge into that. I get the sweet spot somehow. Again, I'm not quite sure how that works. Find it very interesting. That's okay. Keep going for the face. He is a little tired though, doing his little taunt animations. Poke just once. See what he does next. Sweep. Swipe. do need to reapply Big Cure. Maybe a bit greedy for that, but that's okay. Okay, he's gonna flip, so flip. Didn't even hit me, sorry. Get an air dunk without even trying. That was just with a regular boomerang, so that one's even more rare to see, but that's okay. Spin into the face. See what he's doing, just kind of slamming the ground. Again, he has a fair amount of precision on that compared to, you know, normal regular monsters. He is an Elder Dragon, so you should expect that. And he is a 4th gen Elder Dragon as well, in Generations as well, which, you know, has a bit more of an excuse, as I said before, to actually do some more crazy stuff with your styles and hunter arts and whatnot. But yeah, there we go. Again, not particularly difficult. Took about the same as time as the last quest. And actually quite a bit more HP as well, because the monsters don't go in under 5,000 and some have 8,000. I think one at least has 8,000, which may obviously be Gamma. I'm not sure though. Either way, I'll go ahead and carve Valstrax up. I will meet you back at the Sanatorium. All right, back to the hub. There are 3 quests in Lorik Village that I will not do because there's not really much of a challenge to them. I guess I could do it in lowering equipment, but I don't really see much of the point. It's pretty obvious that those can be completed without much worry about the timer. If there has to be a worry about the timer, then something's going really wrong. But first one is called Might is Right, has you hunting some Gen 2 through 3 monsters, with the only Gen 3 monster actually being Zenogre, but mostly flagships. And then the same is State in Flux, which is similar, just with Gen 4 monsters and Gen 3 monsters, and Blagonga's just kind of there. I'm not quite sure why. Kind of weird. In fact, you would think that this quest would have Kushala Deora as opposed to Young Garuga, and I guess this quest wouldn't have Blagonga, but I don't really know what they're going for with it. But Blagonga is just kind of there with the flagship monsters, which, you know, I guess Blagonga is kind of like Generation 2-ish, like well known, kind of, maybe that's only me. And the final one is Advanced. The Field to Stage once again has you hunting the Fated Four, not the hyper versions, just regular versions in the arena. But these are all 6-star village quests, which are the rank and not particularly difficult. And these quests are kind of copied in the Monster Hunter channel quests in the event quest section. So I feel like it would probably be a bit redundant. And we, of course, have the 5 Kings of Destruction quest that will cover these monsters in their hyper forms if they're done. So I don't want to keep going over and over and over with our Fated Four friends here, so we don't burn out on them. Either way, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please consider leaving a comment below and maybe even consider subscribing. Until next time, goodbye.